Hey guys, so I finally finished my first build of the league, which started as a flame golem, which then turned into Animate Guardian, and I'm gonna be honest, I enjoyed Animate Guardian more than flame golems, probably because it had more damage, but it was also clunkier, but it was also really fun trying to build around something so unusual as Animate Guardian as a pure damage minion build. Like, because normally Animate Guardian is usually just for buffing other minions and or like for chains of common builds. But in this case, Animate Guardian is doing all the killing, which, as you saw in the intro, sometimes feels pretty bad, although not always, which is like really weird. Sometimes it feels great because it just goes and clears pretty well, and then other times just nothing explodes. Animate Guardian can also get stuck behind like other minions, so it sometimes does not reach the target that I am commanding him to attack, and just pretty much does no damage. Another thing that in this build I'm using Ephemeral Edge for Animate Guardian with Mega Energy Shield, and this is not even the limit. I wouldn't be surprised if someone would do like 500,000 Energy Shield Animate Guardian, because it's possible, but it's not the most efficient way of getting damage, because you're only getting essentially flat damage. You still need like increased damage, more damage, some other multipliers, rather than just getting flat damage. So for general mapping, it's like extremely melee build. You basically go to enemy back, click convocate, and then quickly use the signal prey to command which it doesn't matter which enemy as long as it is nearby and reachable for Animate Guardian. And then it attacks and hopefully the enemy dies, and because of the Asana's Gentle Touch gloves, enemies explode. So sometimes it works really well. I was actually surprised that I was able to do all the maps, even tier 16, with a bunch of juice, like 60% monster life and extra tankiness. But because of Fleshcrafter, my minions basically ignore enemy resistances, so it doesn't matter what kind of tankiness the enemies have. Pretty much just extra life makes them tankier. Nothing else really makes them tank. Well, except the excavation, like a block, a ward, or like regen, something like that. Extra energy shield can also be bad. I haven't tested against like any Uber bosses or any like not even against Sirius. I just cannot get enough Guardian maps, cannot get enough Conqueror maps. I did test against some Conquerors and some Guardians. It wasn't like the fastest. It has like only around 5 million DPS. It can be higher, it can be lower. But as you also saw in the intro, the damage is from like 2000 to 2 million. So, and I am using Lucky, the Percule Stow, which makes my nearby allies damage with hits lucky. But that's not enough. Like, it still just rolls the damage number twice and chooses the higher number, but it's still you're still rolling from very low numbers to very high numbers. So it also does not have enough crit chance to apply strong shocks. If it rolls like high damage number but it doesn't crit, then it's not gonna apply shock. And other times it rolls low numbers and it rolls critical strike chance, so it applies weak shocks. So sometimes it really it really does from very low damage to very high damage. If it applies strong shocks, it can actually, well, I wouldn't say melt bosses, but it can do some serious damage. But that doesn't happen very often. So overall, this is not something that I would recommend for players to do, but if you can figure out a better way to do the clearing, you can actually use some other minions like Absolution, because it does work well with Absolutions, because it's pure elemental and they are going to be ignoring. I tried with Absolution a bit, but I just don't want to be casting stuff. There's a limited amount of sockets as always, so I decided to just add the Spectres. By the way, I did not include Spectres Pale Seraphim's damage debuff in the path of building. So the damage numbers can be higher, and I do have Carnage Chieftain, which provides only one extra frenzy shot, well, up to 3, but I only added 1 in path of building. So the damage numbers can be much higher, but I don't know by how much exactly. Now the build is actually pretty cheap. I don't even have like alt quality Animate Guardian. I just bought like a level 21 Animate Guardian, a bit of quality for movement speed essentially, which doesn't add any damage. So I'm gonna explain how everything works, but before I do that, there's one important thing that I need to note. With this build, I'm using Fleshcrafter, which means I convert minion life into energy shield. But you must limit your minion here's resistance to 49%. Any higher and the minion will instantly die. This is what happened to my Animate Guardian. I didn't realize, because it kept getting stuck, it could not reach enemies, so I thought, what would give them range? I know, Behead. Oh, wait, Behead does give strike range. I should give Behead. I gave Behead, it killed a rare, it stole the buff, it stole the here's resistance, and instantly died. I showed this clip to guys, they had a good laugh.
Oh, I get it. Wait. Are you using Fleshcrafter? Are you using Flesh Crafter?
It's pretty funny. I'm gonna link the guys' reaction, I guess, in the comments below. But that's one thing important to note. If you are using Flash Crafter, do not use Behead with your minions, because they will instantly die at some point. So there aren't that many ways to improve the clear speed with the Animate Guardian alone, so you're probably gonna have to use some other minions. Now the zombies here are just purely meat shield essentially. I was trying to test the Animate Guardian tankiness, so like if I see a bunch of barriers, I would not recall it, I would just let it get hit, and it doesn't really lose energy shield. Since this is my first build of the league, I don't have a reference to compare how much more dangerous the league is. I can feel that it is more dangerous and the LM is doing more damage, and with the minion changes, I can't really tell if minions are dying more often than normally. My specters have never died. Zombies died a couple times, like 1 or 2 zombies from 7 zombies. But other than that, we are not really dying. But then again, I have not done any Uber bosses, haven't done like super mega crazy map modes, like extra damage map modes with like bleed or something. Could be dangerous probably, but that's always dangerous. You want to be smart, you want to recall your minions when it's time. So I know it's gonna be a bit long video, so let's just get into the items. As a player, for the cheap options, I'm using cold iron points, 2 of them, plus 3 to all physical spell skill gems works well for the Animate Guardian. You want to boost the level of Animate Guardian as much as possible still, despite the minion changes, because it will boost Animate Guardian life. That's the most important thing, not the damage but the life. All the damage is gonna be coming from the Ephemeral Edge. So as a player, I am wearing Flesh Crafter, which means I cannot play as a Chains of Command build, because Chains of Command requires Chains of Command body armor, and without the Flesh Crafter this wouldn't really work, so I must be wearing Flesh Crafter. Perculates though is also very important. It gives the most damage out of anything, because the damage, like I said, is from like 2000 to 2 million, so you definitely want lucky numbers. Which also has Dexterity, which is great. All minion builds need Dexterity. I chose to anoint Profane Chemistry instead of like extra Spectre, because I wanted more survivability, and if the fight prolongs, I can at least regain flash charges and survive for longer. There are also some other improvements you can get, but one another thing, Gloam Ring. If you haven't seen guys' video how to make this as a non-mirrored, you essentially vendor 5 mirrored Gloam Rings, get a fresh Gloam Ring that is not a mirror, and then you can craft it. And it does roll minion stats like minion life, minion speed, minion attack speed. Ideally we would want minion life and minion attack speed, and then life or whatever else you may need. But you want to use this on the left ring slot. Minions take 15% reduced damage. That's pretty massive. I also have for Animate Guardian plus 8 to maximum elemental resistances. I need as much life as possible, because this is 5.5k HP. I do have block with the Bone Offering, but I don't have life on block, so getting damage recupers life is pretty nice, and you can get these rings for pretty cheaply. So on the helmet you can also get Eldritch Implicit for minion life. Helmet enchantment would also help. The gloves, these are not ideal, but attack speed also helps with the movement speed with Whirling Blade, and just minion damage. On the boots, again, nothing special, but I just rolled Sap Ground and I thought, okay, that adds a bit of tankiness, I may as well use that. Same for the belt. I didn't want to go for the Darkness Enthroned because I wanted more resistances. It was actually, initially it was difficult to cap resistance, but later on I decided to start using Purity of Elements to cap my res and just be immune to elemental resistance, which is pretty important. Immune to shock is very important as well. Kind of removes the spikiness of damage. I'm basically running Determination, Purity of Elements, all defenses. No Generosity, because I want it for myself as well. And then Defiance Banner for a bit more extra armor. So right now I have over almost 9000 armor without Granite Flask, which I do use on auto. And I am not using any curses, because the Animate Guardian uses the Temporal Chain, and that's all I need. So Animate Guardian is linked with damage on full life, because it's always on full life. If it's not on full life, then it's probably dead. It does have like 2000 life, because it converts the rest, like 98% converted into energy shield. And then multi-strike, it does help a lot using multi-strike. Minion life obviously gives more damage than anything else probably. Predator's Mark does not need to be divergent, but Divergent helps with the shocks a bit more. Energy Leech does not get the damage multiplier in Path of Building, so I actually had to add the custom modifier for Energy Leech. You're gonna minion deal 24% more damage is from the Energy Leech. For some reason it's not calculated. Like there's no checkbox that are your minions leeching Energy Shield in here. There's only for player, and that doesn't do anything. The Flesh Crafter body armor does not automatically convert minion life into Energy Shield, so I also had to convert that. Another thing, I don't have perfect Ephemeral Edge. I had it on my first Animate Guardian, but then I ran out of currency and bought like 45% increased global energy shield Ephemeral Edges. So the conversion is like 98% of this amount of life will be converted into energy shield and then boosted by the other items. But essentially you just need to calculate how much is 98% and then just add minions have that amount of energy shield, and that's how you just simulate the energy shield. I'm gonna show Animate Guardian's items in a moment. Then I got Desecrate, link to Arcanist Brand and Bone Offering. So essentially I drop Arcanist Brand when I need Bone Offering. I don't think that Bone Offering is basically for me, not really for my minions. I don't think that my minions care about Bone Offering that much, because we don't have a life region essentially, because everything is ES region, and we don't get ES region, we only get block, and no like ES on block, so we just get a bit of block and that's it. There's also Stone Golem with the Feeding Frenzy and Determination and Culling Strike. So Stone Golem basically does the Culling Strike and applies Feeding Frenzy buff for me, and which grants damage for my minions. And also Stone Golem gives me regen. And then I got Ray Spectres linked to Physical to Lighting. I don't know, I guess don't need Feast to Lighting support. I was testing the Overcharge, but right now Spectres linked to Feast to Lighting, Minion Life, and also Ray Zombies. So I got Zombies and Spectres. And for Spectres I got Pale Seraphim and Carnage Chieftain. Pale Seraphim applies a debuff which makes enemies take increased damage from all sources, not just like physical. And Carnage Chieftain grants frenzy charges. Right, now let's move on to Animate Guardian items. By the way, in Powerful Building, if you want to like review the items, select basically here, item sets, and select Animate Guardian. That's the Animate Guardian item, but you're gonna have to reselect the default set back if you want to see like the correct damage numbers. 2 Ephemeral Edges, these are 45% only, it could be a bit more. Energy Shield. Crown of the Inward Eye gives a lot of it's like increasing the life, and then you convert that life and then increase the energy shield. That gives a lot of damage as well. Garb of the Ephemeral, as soon as I put this on, I felt a lot tankier, because nearby action speed cannot be modified below base, so enemies basically cannot slow me down too much. Nearby enemies cannot deal critical strike is also amazing. And then it gains divinity charges when it reaches maximum. It basically gains more elemental damage. So that's another conditional thing that it gains. It does have a cooldown, so it's not 100% uptime. The next important item is the Arsenal Gentle Touch. Like I said, does explosions. Need explosions, otherwise you cannot clear. And Legacy of Fury is not mandatory. I just added that just to get a tiny bit of help with the clear speed. Okay, another setup that I had was Impulsa with the Storm Gift Gloves. It just wasn't working out very well. And you are tankier by using Garb of the Ephemeral. So, but for the boost you may also want Wake of Destruction, because it just drops the shock ground, which can help shock a bit better. Or you could just use like I don't know, Brittle Ground to help with the crits a bit more. As for the passive skill tree, basically focusing on minion life, you're gonna want one jewel with minion here's assistance somewhere probably, and probably something with taunt. So you're gonna want at least 2 Ghastly Eye jewels. Actually, in fact, it's better to have Ghastly Eye jewels and get minion attack speed and then minion life, and then life for yourself. That way you essentially get flare damage, big flare damage from getting minion life, which then converts into energy shield, and then attack speed gives you the bonus damage because you already have other like multipliers. You have increased damage, you got flare damage, you get more damage. Now you need attack speed. I will include this Path of Building import code in video description. You can review this, how it works. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this build? Would you actually play this kind of build? And if you would, how would you improve this? Because I'm gonna keep this build because I don't have any other build to do like bossing, or if I need to do. By the way, this was before Arch Nemesis defense nerfs, so maybe now this would perform better. My next build will be, most likely I was stuck for like 3 days planning builds, and I decided to just run with some kind of occultist and Impending Doom. That's gonna be my next build, Impending Doom with poison. I did Impending Doom in 3.17, but now it's gonna be poison, Rata and Crit, with the low tolerance and the new Alchemist mark, so I'm like really excited to see how that's gonna turn out. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.